all over the world. We're all the way from Houston to, I don't even remember where Virginia Linda lives, someplace in Texas. And we grew up in New York and Gayatri in Hong Kong and Braja and Vrindavan. I'd have a lot of jet lag if I was I was traveling to all these places. So text 39 from chapter 6, Bhagavad Gita, as it is Dhyana Yoga. Etame samshayam Krishna ketu arhasya seshataha tava anya samasa yasyasya chetana hyupajate. This is my doubt. Anybody ever had a doubt? This is my doubt, O Krishna, and I ask you to dispel it completely. But for you, no one is to be found who can destroy this doubt. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Krishna is perfect knower of past, present, and future. In the beginning of the Bhagavad Gita, the Lord said that all living entities existed individually in the past. They exist now in the present, and they continue to retain individual identity in the future, even after liberation from the material entanglement. So he has already cleared up the question of the future of the individual living entity. Now Arjuna wants to know the future of the unsuccessful transcendentalist. No one is equal to or above Krishna, and certainly the so-called great sages and philosophers who are at the mercy of material nature cannot equal him. Therefore, the verdict of Krishna is the final and complete answer to all doubts, because he knows past, present, and future perfectly, but no one knows him. Krishna and Krishna conscious devotees devotees alone can know what is what. Anybody have anything for us tonight? The purport and the commentary, purport are there. The translation and the purport are there. I hope some people were able to read along. I don't know if you're at your computers or not. It's interesting that Prabhupada brings up Natveva Jatunanasham Nene Janita Napaha. What is that verse? I know that verse by heart. From the second chapter, where it's practically the first thing that Krishna tells Arjuna. First, he tells him that you think you know something. Asochan anvasochas tvam pagnam vedam say. You're speaking like a learned man, but you don't know what you're not speaking. You think you're a learned man, but you don't know what's worthy of grief. Natve baham jatuna sham natvam neme janandi nachaiva na bhavisha ma sarve vayamatapadam. Never was there a time when I did not exist, nor you, nor all these kings, nor in the future, so any of us cease to be. As Prabhupada mentions in the purport, this has already been cleared up. Right? Krishna's already cleared up that we live eternally. So Krishna is being questioned by Arjuna that what is the destination of the unsuccessful yogi? Because Krishna's been telling Arjuna, of course, this chapter describes the Ashtanga yoga process. And Arjuna, as we know, admitted that this was too difficult for him. Sometimes when I'm speaking with devotees, I think that was something slipped on my computer. What part did I get muted from? Not much, I don't think.
No, not much.
Yeah. I bring up this for Alcoholics Anonymous, Narcotics Anonymous, and all these things. They have their 12-step program, and the first one is that one has to admit. So Arjuna, the doubts that Arjuna has is he's admitting here that Krishna, I can't understand what's going to happen. You say I'm eternal, but please, this is my doubt, that what happens to someone who takes up spiritual life that doesn't complete the process. Of course, we know that it's interesting how that second chapter works when you really study the second chapter, because it's just the end of the first chapter in the beginning for like 7, 8 verses. And then finally Arjuna surrenders. He says, Krishna, I can't figure it out. And so he asks Krishna to be a spiritual master. And then, of course, Krishna tells him those verses that we just said. And then he starts describing the soul. You're not the body, you're not the body, you're not the body. I think I was discussing this with somebody just recently. You're not the body, you're not the body. And then when we get up to like verse 30, this must have been for 22nd Avenue, I think. Yeah. When you get up to about 40 is not 20. Okay, so about verse 31, 32 of the second chapter, all of a sudden Krishna goes and telling Arjuna, you're not the body, you're not the body, you're not the body. And all of a sudden he says, you're a Kshatriya. He just goes the whole thing. You can't be killed, you can't be drowned, you can't be moistened by water. There's never a time you've always been here. Najayate, mirate, vakadachim, nayam, bhuta, bhavana, bhuya. It said all these things about the soul. If you think the soul is slain, or that you're the slayer, you're none of these things. And then all of a sudden he just tells Arjuna, you're a Kshatriya. Puts him right back into the body. If you're a Kshatriya, if you leave the battle, they'll think you're a coward. They'll scorn you with so many unkind words. You'll be, you're going to be embarrassed. In other words, like you're this body. And then all of a sudden he switches it back again to let me tell you how to do what you're supposed to do, but do it for me. It's interesting. He just kind of throws that little 4 or 5 verses in there. So Krishna is a knower of past, present, and future. Trikalagya, he understands everything, past, present, and future. Anyway, I started out by asking anyone if they had any thoughts on this comment, the translation and purport. Anybody have something that stands out for them? I'm sure something has to stand out for someone.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, just Parampara.
Parampara, good morning. Good evening.
I just wanted to, at the very beginning of the purport, it's just the mood that Arjuna seems to take really, it's just complete surrender. Even as you're explaining, as Krishna goes back and forth, Arjuna is very firm about just, whatever Krishna says, that's final and ultimate. And I that aspect really appeals to me.
Yeah, it's nice to have something to hold on to that's real. Fourth canto of the Bhagavatam talks about fallible soldiers that we grab onto in the material world. We grab onto so many false shelters. They're considered to be fallible soldiers. Yes. Bhagavan, Narada. So, sorry to embarrass Bhagavan, Narada. So it's nice to have something concrete. Just like there's one place where Srila Prabhupada explains that the soul is kutastha, it's steady. Nothing in the material, we find nothing in the material world to be consistent. I mean, we do, it's consistently changing. That's what's consistent about it. Well, we maybe have a good day today. You can always look forward, and we can always, sometimes you have a few in a row, whatever, or bad days in a row, but everything changes. Everything changes constantly. It's constantly in flux. And so to have something that gives us shelter and protection and direction, in other words, an understanding that we can always count on to be axiomatic, to be an axiomatic truth that we understand to be true, no matter what, whether we understand it or whether we don't understand it. And that we can go back into the 4th chapter where I brought this up probably a million times, where when Arjuna is told by Krishna, I spoke the Gita like 120 million years ago, Arjuna doesn't challenge that. He challenges himself. He says, Krishna, how am I to understand this? This is above my pay grade. For, it doesn't say pay grade, but he said, this is beyond my ability to understand. How, and you're talking like you were just there 120 million years ago, but I know you're right here with me. How am I to understand? And so that type of faith that Arjuna has in Krishna to solve the challenges that the living entity comes up with or comes across in this world is very good. As Prabhupada said here at the end, Krishna knows past, present, and future, but no one knows him. And Krishna conscious devotees can alone know what is what. So we have that ability to know what is meant to be done and what is not meant to be done. Somebody else, something come out?
Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Ah, Rajalila, you said you would be here. Nice.
Yes, I'm here. For me, the part where it says that not even philosophers who are at the mercy of material nature can equal him, so that we can never really understand him by our own endeavor. It's really his mercy that allows us to know him.
Yes, you're connecting that sentence to the only devotees can know. Yeah, through our philosophical, what would you say? I don't want to say through our philosophical endeavors. It's described that the Gyanis, they can travel at the speed of the mind. Just like right now, you're in Vrindavan. I can go to the place that I stay in Braj, that little apartment by that Jai Shri owns, and at the where's that place called? MVT. And I can be there. I can sit there where we sat on the patio and spoke 2 or 3. In a second, I can be there. And so it described that the yogis, they can travel at the speed of the mind. So the mind, I just went like 8,000 miles in a split second. The yogis can travel at the speed of the mind for millions of years and never understand Krishna. It's Krishna that understood by our blunt material senses or our intellectual endeavors. I like how Prabhupada brings it up. Hopefully we'll come up to this part of the purport sometime, where Prabhupada explains that this Bhagavad Gita, the philosophy of Bhagavad Gita and the philosophy of Krishna consciousness is not meant for armchair speculators. It's very powerful statement, not meant for armchair speculators. Someone sitting around a tea stall and saying, I think it's like this. No, someone says, I think it's, no, it must be like this. And the example that's given, it's like blind men. One blind man has the trunk of an elephant. One blind man has the ear of an elephant. One blind man has the leg of an elephant. One blind man has the tail of an elephant. And they're trying to explain the elephant. So when we're spiritually blind, when we don't have spiritual vision, and we try to understand or try to comprehend that which is beyond our comprehension, that's beyond our comprehension. Just like the next sentence, or just a little bit down from where Brajalila was, no one is equal to or above Krishna. And that's where it comes in, certainly the so-called great sages and philosophers. So that word is asvamedha, asvamurdva. Asvamurdva means no one is greater to or equal than Krishna. And through our blunt material senses, through our intellectual endeavors, we can never come to the proper understanding. Because Krishna is so great, and we're so covered by the material energy, that one of us is holding on to the trunk and saying that the elephant is like this. Someone's holding on to an ear, and he thinks it's like a leaf, big, thick leaf. Someone's holding on to the leg, they think it's like a tree. Someone's holding on to the tail, They think it's like a split rope or a snake or something. But they're only getting a partial understanding. We may get a partial understanding of Krishna, but it's only the devotee. And there's a reason for that, and that is because Krishna only reveals himself to the devotee. Because when Krishna gives that type of love, that is the currency by which we can purchase Krishna, and Krishna becomes indebted to that type of devotional, what would you say, person. The person who understands Krishna through the process of bhakti has the special currency which is meant to purchase Krishna. So Krishna's not going to give that so easily. It's described that he can give the heavenly planets, he can give moksha, liberation, but this pure bhakti yoga, this pure bhakti, the pure devotion to Krishna is, would you say, not easily attained, not easily attained. Anyone else have something from this small, short verse in purport? I can call on names, or we can go to the next one. Jai Shri.
I can give it a go, Maharaj.
Yeah. Ben, please.
Hi.
Please.
Thank you so much. So in terms of the past, you talked about Krishna and the past, future, and present. When we say the transcendental names of God, does it also translate into those dimensions as well? I mean, it's both internal and external. I mean, it reverberates throughout every soul, every cell of our being, but those utterances also are expelled outwardly.
Yes. So it's described, this is what I've heard. I don't remember where I read it, but I know that it's been stated somewhere where it explains that sound vibration travels around the universe seven times. It goes around 7 times. And so when we're chanting Hare Krishna, when we're doing devotional activities, they obviously have effect. Now, does chanting Hare Krishna affect our past? Yes, because there are seeds from our past activities planted in our heart, sinful desire, seeds of desire. Now, we'll just skip that sinful one. We'll just say seeds of material desire. Sinful sounds so heavy. It's just so heavy. This is seeds of desire are sitting there in the heart from our previous activities or previous actions, same thing. And so the chanting of Hare Krishna, it uproots those seeds. It uproots them, and it's described that, or it what would you say, sterilizes them, and it's described in two ways. One way it's like the flood. It's like a flood of water. A seed that's drowned or soaked completely in water doesn't have the ability to fructify, or a seed that's put on a pan and heated up doesn't have the ability, after it's been heated up, doesn't have the ability to bear fruit. And so in the same way, through the chanting of Hare Krishna, it's like heating up the seed, or it's like drowning the seed of desire, material desires from our previous activities. And also it affects that which we're going to reap in the future. In other words, we all say, when I joined the Hare Krishnas, I was just talking to someone that said they stubbed their toe. And I remember, like, we were in the kitchen back in the 70s, and if we were cutting vegetables and we nicked our finger, and we, I cut my finger. And the person next to you would say, yeah, you're supposed to have your arm cut off, but Krishna gave you some special mercy. You only nicked your finger. I mean, we were so hardcore back then. It was just, I got something in my eye. Well, you were supposed to have your eye, plucked out, but Krishna just put a little grain of dust in it, I mean, and so our present, the situation in the present is also, what would you say, reduced. The experience that we're supposed to have now is reduced, because Krishna, he carries what we have, what we lack, and preserves what we have. And also in the future, our future is very bright because it's our chanting and our devotion and our activities in Krishna consciousness will create a bright future. I remember one time this is how crazy sometimes Hare Krishnas are. I had gone to India and I said, I'm taking a break for 6 months. I'm just going to sit in the Dham and chant. And I had a 6 months ticket that you had to stay at least 14 days. On the 10th day, there was an emergency, there's some kind of emergency in Colombia. And my GBC, His Holiness Sri Dayananda Maharaj, volunteered me to go. So I flew from Calcutta to Delhi, Delhi to London, London to New York, New York to Miami, and Miami to Bogota. I just transited in the airport. I mean, I don't even remember how many hours it was. And then when I get to Bogota, it's Ekadasi. And in those days, I used to do Nirjala Ekadasi every time. I should not drink water, not eat anything. That was my breath for Ekadasi in those days. And so I said, and I remember among I was just hanging onto my danda. Back then, I carried my sannyas staff. I was just hanging. I said, so then the devotee said, we want to take you to a monastery on the top of the hill, on top of a mountain. It's a beautiful monastery. And so we have to walk up a mountain. I just got off like a 50-hour flight. I'm fasting completely for Ekadasi. It's cold. It's raining and cold because it's March in Colombia, and Bogota is a little high, not as high as some places. It's not like Kali. Kali's like deep, really hot, like in the desert. Not Kali Yuga, but the name of the city, Kali. And so we get to the top, and it's like drizzling and raining. Then I look over. They actually had a train that went up and down. I didn't even have to walk. And I said, dude, why'd you get? We thought you'd want to go for a walk, Mara. I was like, yeah, after 50 hours and not eating or drinking anything for the last couple of days. So then there are these kids. The whole purport of this story is to show you how crazy devotees are, but also to show that there's benefit here. And so there were these kids and they were kind of teasing some of the devotees. So I asked them, you're just there, nice to see you. Nice to see you. We can hear your smile laughing too.
Oh, I gotta mute my thing, sorry.
Oh, yeah. We're gonna go for a walk tomorrow. So these kids were teasing us. And so the devotees told them that this is a spiritual, like guru or master or whatever they say down in South America. So they said, okay, please tell us what our future is. And I said, your future is very black. I said, because you're making fun of spiritual people. It was actually a monastery. You're meant to have certain type of what we should say, behavioral standards here. And so until you recognize the authority of the Supreme Lord and act according to that which direction that the Lord gives, your future will be very black. But if you can actually change and engage in a proper activity according to the laws of God, you'll find a certain type of freedom. And I explained the freedom, just like there's rules and regulations on the road: drive on the right, don't drive on the left. In America, stop on the red, go on the green. And so those rules and regulations are for our protection and for our safety and for our ability to be peaceful and happy in this world. And I said, in the same way, the rules and regulations which are given in the scripture, and basically any bona fide scripture has that ability. I said, so you have a choice. You have a choice, and you can make it. And so then they all became like that, and a little more serious about their behavior. So that was a little answer to Bren. So that in our future, because we're engaged in the process of devotional service, Neha Bikamanastasi Pachavaya Navijate Salpamaprasha Dharmasha Prayate Mahato Vayat, that in the endeavor of spiritual life, there's no loss or diminution. And a little advancement in spiritual practices can protect one throughout one's journey in this material world. We're on a journey. hopefully we can, it's not the journey that we want to extend. It's not like a vacation where we always want to have a couple extra days, but this is a journey that we're trying to resolve. We're trying to come into resolve the situation. And we have, by the grace of Krishna, and probably he's like the conflict mediator. I guess you could say that. I don't know if that's offensive or not. In other words, we have someone to give us direction. We have a spiritual master. We have guides. We're so fortunate when we really think about it, that which we have. And we have we really should have a sense of gratitude that we are. I often mention on my WhatsApp. It's Japa. It's supposed to be Japa group, but it talks about all kinds of things. But we really have. It's really a gift to be able to chant Hare Krishna. We should be very, very grateful. This situation doesn't happen that often, where one comes to the point in their spiritual, I think the word is sojourn, or our journey in this world, we come to the point where we actually decide that I'm going to start to surrender. I'm going to start to give my life. That's the get ready to take bed alarm. I've explained this to you before. I set the alarm to tell me what time to go to sleep. I don't set it to wake up. I set it to tell me what time to go to sleep, because then I'll automatically wake up. But we actually, it's a gift to be able to chant the holy name. It's a gift to have association of Vaishnavas. It's all these are gifts. I've explained this so many times before that and we should respect those gifts by utilizing them to the best of our ability in spiritual life. So this we're doing, for those who just joined, we're just doing takeaways from verse 39 of the 6th chapter. We read text 39 of the 6th chapter, and Arjuna is explaining to Krishna. In 37, he asked Krishna, what is the destination of a unsuccessful transcendentalist who begins but doesn't make it fully to the perfection? What is the situation? And we're asking people to give takeaways. And Ren jumped in, and I asked Jayashree. She usually has some good takeaways, and I think I can ask her, but she doesn't have to join if she doesn't want to, but sometimes she has some good ones.
Well, I just think that this verse is very poignant. I think it's a good one for me to remember, because I have so many doubts all the time. And only Krishna, really, on the heart of it, Krishna or his pure representatives are the only ones that can dispel that doubt. And, it's like so much of our lives, we live in this doubt. We have, it's where fear comes from. It's where anxiety comes from. It's where depression comes from, is this doubt of, are things going to work out? Is it going to, what, am I doing the right thing? Is this the right, there's like doubts at every step. And this prayer, the verse is really powerful, because Arjuna is saying only you can dispel these doubts, and I'm laying them at your feet so that you can do that. Yeah. And I think it's a really good one to remember at all times.
Good takeaway. There's another place for Krishna. Arjuna approaches Krishna like this, but for you. And I can't remember where this one is, but it's described that Vyasadeva is present. So many what would you say, highly elevated personalities are present at this time, but Arjuna just wants to hear from Krishna. And there's every time Krishna is involved, there's many aspects that are covered. And so in order to establish, even when you get into the 10th and 11th chapter, where Arjuna will say, I accept everything that you say is truth. Even Vyas, Deva, Asita, all these people say it, now you're saying it. I think it's in the 10th chapter where Arjuna says, even now you're saying it. So I accept, as for my part of my name, Vita means truth, Vitam. I accept as truth all that you're saying. And so, like you say, that we have Krishna to solve the problems. We have association to clear up the doubts. And another thing to add to Jai Shri's thing is that it's not a fault, or what would you say? We don't want to use words like fault. It's okay to have doubts, and it's okay to open up the doubts so that the doubts can be resolved. Any doubt that we have, just like Arjuna, I mean, we're on the 6th chapter. He's already, I mean, at the beginning of the 3rd chapter, he has doubts. And in the 4th chapter, he doubted, how could Krishna speak this to this? In the 5th chapter, he begins another one. You know, I don't understand if you say intelligent, or is that the 3rd chapter where intelligence is better than this, and why you engage in me? That was the 3rd chapter. In the 5th chapter, I just read it the other day. I'll just go to it rather than just rambling on, thinking that I'll remember it in a second. Yeah, first of all, you asked me to renounce work. Then you again you recommend work with devotion. Now tell me what's best. Of course, Krishna tells them there that devotion is better. It's similar to the question in the beginning of the 3rd chapter. And so to have doubts is okay. But we have this, like, just like His Holiness Hridayananda Maharaj always brings up this point that sometimes materially inclined people may say that religious people have blind faith. They have blind faith. They just blindly have faith in Guru. They blindly have faith in the words of God. But there's also something called blind doubt, where there are, what would you say, indications that there is a supreme being. There are indications that I am something other than this material body. It may not even be something that comes from scripture like Bhagavad Gita. It may come from someplace, some other source of information or some other source of knowledge that we have these things. And so to just blindly doubt it, oh, I'm not into organized religion. So when people say they're not into organized religion, I am. Are you against organization, or are you against religion? Because if you're not, I don't believe you're against organization. You have something that religion bothers you, because if you belong to so many organizations. I mean, even our body's organized. If you don't believe in organization, you can't put your food inside. You have to follow the organization of the body. The food goes in here, the sound goes in here, the light comes in here, the air comes through here. You have to follow that organization. And there's so many organizations that we submit ourselves to. The organization of driving, we'll give that one again. There's a million. You take a look. The sun comes up in an organized way. The sun goes down in an organized way. It follows a schedule. Everything has a system like that. So what is it about religion that you don't like? What is it about religion that there's difficulty? And then we can come to a philosophical discussion to understand that religion really means to just reunite with the Lord. Now, how we're going to do that? What is the best process for understanding that relationship with the Lord? Like Srila Prabhupada would mention, I've heard it a million times in this lecture, that the true religion means that it's allowing us to once again express our love for the Supreme Lord, to love God with all their body, mind, words, body, mind, words, activities, whatever. 100%, as Prabhupada would say. We would say 100%, as Prabhupada would say 100%. We give ourselves like this to understand that. And again, it's a rare opportunity. It's basically the human form of life and up. The heavenly planets are a little more difficult in one sense because it's a little too nice there. We think, just like if we're in a nice situation, we can tend to forget that we are at the mercy of the Lord. Most Vaishnavas and most religious people from other religious traditions also have that appreciation during the good times. And they also have that dependence during the struggles, during the challenging times. And this is the benefit of having that type of, as Jayashree, I can't remember what it was from Purana, who was speaking, where they have that thing to cling on to, to hang on to have an understanding, to get through the challenges. Machita Sarvadurgani Maprashada Tarishasi, that we become conscious of Krishna. We can cross over all the obstacles, is the word that's used there. By Krishna's grace. And all we have to do is hear. And if we don't hear, then ahankara, it's described in that verse. If we don't hear properly, then because of ahankar, because of a false identification, falsely identifying ourselves as something that's material, then we'll be lost. Then we're lost. Then we can't recover ourselves if we stick to our material conception. If we have an open heart, if we have an open mind, I guess it means also, then we can come to the point of actually understanding. But if we just say, I don't like organized, I don't want religion. No, what is it? We just want happiness. And this is a source of happiness if we take it in its true essence. Thank you, Jai. That was good. Anyone else? Anyone else have something they'd like to bring out?
Maharaj?
Yes, Prajendananda.
Prajendananda, would you like to see my ugly mug? I see yours.
Oh, you can turn your camera. That's your choice. I don't force on that level.
Well, I'm going to allow it because Hare Krishna.
There you go. Hare Krishna.
It's been a long time.
Yeah.
Anyway, I had a question. Is that all right to ask a question?
Sure.
Okay. My son is struggling right now. And you know how, like in Christianity, they say, well, I'm going to pray for this person. Like, I mean, I chant my rounds every day, and that's prayer. But I don't feel, like, should I can pray to Krishna, right? I mean, I don't know. Is that something we do, or?
Yeah, it's one of the nine principles. Praying is one of the 9 parts of aspects or parts of devotional. So there's 9: hearing, chanting, remembering, offering prayers.
Oh, you're right. Yeah, of course. Okay.
Offering prayers, and this is something that.
Well, I always think of that as offering prayers to Krishna, instead of offering prayers for someone. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but if you read the prayers, the prayers generally in the Bhagavatam, if you read the prayers, I think it was just anyway, whatever class it was, and it most of the time they approach the Lord by giving the Lord praise. In other words, they praise the Lord for certain qualities. You are the supreme this, you're the supreme that, you're this, you're the unlimited, you have unlimited mercy, you have this, you have that. And then Queen Kunti prayed that Krishna not leave, and this person prays that Gajendra, he prayed that somehow I have forgotten you and stuff like that. And so also Vaishnava, Prabhupada, when Prabhupada was ill, he asked us to pray to the Lord and say, my dear Lord Krishna, if you so desire, please protect our spiritual master. Please help us. Please, our spiritual master is sick.
I remember that. Yeah, I remember doing that.
So the thing is that we can also pray for people to Krishna, please. We know that every living entity has to undergo certain things in this world, but please help, please help. I remember when one of my Guru Cool boys passed away, and I said I had to speak at the memorial, and I'm standing there. I'm right next to his, I guess you'd call it casket. Devotees use cardboard caskets, and he was as dear to my heart as anyone could possibly be. And I was just telling the devotees, just pray, because if we pray to Krishna, all the devotees pray to Krishna to help this person on the sojourn through this world. Give him some mercy. Krishna will hear those prayers. Just like His Holiness Jayapataka Maharaj recently, you say contact, how do you say it? We have some COVID, how do you say that?
Contracted, yeah.
Contracted
I think
COVID.
so.
And he's saying, he's got like, there's like 1,008 Shringa Yagyas going on for something, there's some, acid. And he's saying that all these prayers and all these people are chanting extra japa, people are doing so many things. And he's saying, this is what's curing me. This is what's curing me. And so, and it's one of the duties of the parent to see to the needs of the child, be they physical, emotional, all these different things that come up. And so many things come up. That's just the nature of the world. And what other shelter do we have other than Krishna? It's amazing. I got a note from an old friend that knew I joined the Hare Krishna movement. And their child at a very, the child is between, like, say, under 30. But it got a blood cancer that normally somebody in their 50s or 60s would get. And the person just asked me, can you please pray to help? They knew I was a Hare Krishna. They just could you please pray for my daughter so that she can get through this? And I wrote back, I'm so sorry to hear this. I said, of course I will include her in my prayers. And when I chant japa, I say, Krishna, this person's under duress, please help. And I don't think for me, it's a privilege to have someone come to me and say, can you through your prayers, ask Krishna for something, ask Krishna for something. Because even that is like such a step for that person to come forward. Just, what would you say? Slight acquaintance, or during college years and high school, that during that time, and they knew I joined the Hare Krishna movement, and they know what we're all about. We've spoken several times over the years, and so they know that my life is quote unquote Hare Krishna, and so they ask. And so, yes, please pray for your son, and so will I. And I asked this group to please, pray for Vijayanandana's son to be able to withstand the challenges that that come to every living entity. No one escapes this. And so we as a group, I asked the group, please send a little prayer for Vijayanandana, who's done so much service for Krishna throughout the years, and he has a son that's being challenged now, and so we can offer our best. We can offer our best, and that's okay. That's cool. And Krishna's cool. So,
thank you.
Anyone else have a takeaway? I'm going to go through. Ashnita, you usually have something pretty good that you're very intuitive. If I may call on you, I don't know. If it's uncomfortable, you can say, Maharaj, today I didn't, it's okay.
Hare Krishna, Maharaj.
Hare Krishna.
I was just thinking about how Arjuna is actually setting an example for us, because it says later on in the purport that therefore the verdict of Krishna is the final and complete answer to all doubts, and Krishna and Krishna conscious devotees alone can know what is what. So I feel like by putting forward his doubt to Krishna, Arjuna is setting an example for us as how we should seek answers to our doubts through the association of devotees and through the verdict of Krishna, which is available to us through the scriptures. And that it's actually, like you said, Maharaj, like a privilege for us to have access to these scriptures and to the association of devotees. And so I think it's really important that we dispel our doubts so that we can grow in our Krishna consciousness more firmly.
Yeah. Open our hearts of our doubts.
Yeah.
And that's the dati pratiganati, that is revealing, to there's 6 loving exchanges, offering prasad, receiving prasad, revealing one's mind, hearing confidentially from another person, and giving gifts and accepting gifts. And the 4 of them are very easy. Just to give a little gift or receive a gift is easy. To give a little prasad and receive a little prasad is easy. But when it comes to revealing the mind, there's a little challenge there, because one of the things is confidentially revealing one's mind, and so confidentially that one has to be careful in the sense that the person that we're speaking to is confidential about that which we our doubts, because we don't want that to go all around the universe unless we're my point is, I'm getting lost in my words. My point is that if it's cool for it to be everywhere in the world, then it's cool for it to be everywhere in the world. But if it's in doubt that you're a little shy and you need someone that you can have confidential talks with, that will help you and say, like, oh yeah, I won't say anything. This is, you can tell me anything you want to say. I'll throw the key away. It'll never go out. And if a devotee, if we can come to that point where we become known as a confidential source, then we will have the nicest service that we could possibly ever have in this world. And that is having devotees reveal their hearts. And most of the time, all you have to do is listen. You don't have to give advice. Basically, all you have to do is listen. And I don't know if you can see me like zipping it and locking it and throwing the key away. And at the proper moment, maybe the time to reveal, maybe a little later, where you can, give some solace. A lot of times the solace is just listening. Sometimes the solace is listening and then asking, I changed it. I don't say, if there's anything I can do, let me know. Because if you say the if, then it's kind of like maybe he wants to help, maybe she doesn't want to help. Or if I say, what can I do to help you? Then it's an open-ended question. It doesn't have a qualifier that if you need help. Obviously you need something because you're coming to me. So if I just increase that if, then it can what would you say? It doesn't necessarily happen, but it may create a doubt whether or not that person really wants to open up, because he's so busy. I get this a lot. Mars, you're so busy, but I just want to answer this question. I say, my busy is your need. My being busy is what you need. That's how I tell people. So I don't say, if there's anything I can do, I just say, what can I do to help? Just let me know what I can do to help. That's a very good point. Very, very, very good point. Snetta, you always come up with very good ones. Because Arjuna really set an example. Really, really nicely. We have 8 minutes. Anybody have any more comments? Oh, look at there. Some of my friends. One of my friends just showed up. Look at there. You have any questions? No? Okay. Ananteshwar, 8 minutes. Read the next purport's two pages.
Yes, next purport is quite big.
Yeah, quite large, yeah.
Yeah.
Maharaj, I have something I can throw in.
Thank you, Bhagavad. I was just going to call on your name or Lavendra. So I was going to flip a coin. Ladies first or guys first today.
So I was thinking about verse 15:19, where Krishna says,
that's almost the last verse of the 15th chapter. It's just right before isn't it? Yeah.
So he's saying there, he's speaking about doubts. It's Yomam Evam Ashamhunho. That's how it starts. But he's saying, whoever knows me as the Supreme Personality of Godhead without doubting is to be understood as the knower of everything. And then he gives a solution on how to resolve these doubts through engaging himself in full devotional service. And what's interesting, because you spoke a little bit about armchair philosophy, Prabhupada in the third paragraph, or in the second paragraph, he says, he gets a little heavy here. He says that we shouldn't, where is it right here?
Simply to hear like hogs and dogs.
Yeah, simply to hear like the hogs is not sufficient. One must be able to understand from the authorities. And then later on, he goes on to say that if one's performing devotional service, then basically they're perfect. Everything's great. So I was kind of thinking about something that I read today, because yeah, we can put together PowerPoints and we can travel around and we can give great, presentations on Krishna consciousness. And then we can just treat people horribly afterwards. I'm not pointing out anybody in particular. I'm just saying, like, we can have that knowledge, but if we don't get off the couch and go do something, then what good is it? Like, I was reading something today about Elon Musk, who's, he's in charge of like all this space technology and Tesla. And he was saying something similar. So it's like this knowledge, like the nature of knowledge is to have this experience, this realization, even when you look up the word knowledge, right? Like facts, information, and skills acquired by a person through experience or education, theoretical, practical understanding of the subject. So I was listening, even the materialists have this kind of concept. So where should we be as devotees? So Elon Musk was saying that he doesn't look, when he's hiring for somebody, he doesn't look for any sort of educational background. He doesn't look to see, what degrees they have or how much they can tell him that they're capable of doing. He actually looks at their track record of success, and he asks them one question, which is like, tell me about the most difficult situation that you've ever been in, is what he asked somebody. And he says, and tell me how you got out of that. And he says to that one question, he's able to have everything revealed through details that they explain. So I just thought that was very interesting, that even if a successful materialist can get this understanding of the importance of realization rather than just, going through the motions, where should we be as devotees? This is a very, very like razor blade aspect of elevating ourselves in Krishna consciousness, because we can become so relaxed and think that we're doing it, but we're miles away because we're actually not doing it through a practical way of devotional service or realization. We're not putting ourselves through the difficulties correctly. I don't know if that makes sense. I've got a lot of different thoughts.
Putting ourselves through the difficulties correctly. That's a classic. Yeah. This is a very interesting verse. For some reason, I memorized this verse in the 70s. Why I pick out certain verses that have no Yomam Evam Asammudo Gyanati Purushottamam Sisaviva Vidbhajantimam. But the interesting part about this verse is that, for me, is that whoever knows, Krishna says, whoever knows me as the Supreme Personality of Godhead without doubt is understood, is the knower of everything. He's a knower of everything. So this comes in the Purushottam part. This is the Purushottam, the yoga of the Supreme. And the conclusion of someone who understands Krishna to be the Supreme Lord without a doubt, the natural conclusion to that is, I'm going to engage in service to this person. I don't have any doubts about Krishna as the Supreme Lord, and therefore my conclusion of understanding everything. In other words, because the Gita contains karma yoga, jnana yoga, dhyana yoga, bhakti yoga, it contains so many different aspects of the yoga ladder, and all these different impersonal ideas, because Krishna explains how the impersonal nature, what is his impersonal nature, all these different things. And so when one comes to understand Krishna without a doubt, the conclusion, of course the word there, tasmat's not there, but the conclusion is that Robert uses the word he, therefore, after coming to through all this knowledge, therefore he engages in the devotional service of the Lord. And it's also the point that you bring out of sharing our information with others is so important. I remember, I think it was one of these talks that we were, you were searching for ways during the pandemic to help people come in contact with Krishna consciousness through the different Zooms or streamlines or whatever it's all called, and to continue our efforts in sharing Krishna consciousness, because we can have Gyan and we can get Vigyan, but Vigyan is actually bestowed. It's kind of like a blessing that one gets who shares Krishna consciousness with others. It's also available through other ways, but it's easily available when one shares Krishna consciousness or shares, and it doesn't have to be like when you're if you have a new person showing up at the temple and cutting vegetables in the kitchen and they nick their finger and you tell them that they should have had their arm chopped off. I mean, you know, that might not be the best process for somebody who's there for the first day, but to at least, you know, show some empathy and, you know, help out. But to share Krishna consciousness, when we share our realization, when we share that which we learn, then it becomes solidified within our heart. Just like His Grace Borjan Prabhu says, the best way to learn is to teach. So whenever he does his seminars, he likes to do the seminars because it forces him to go deep into the subject and come up with conclusions. Because the way he does it, he takes it apart piece by piece by piece by piece, and then puts it back together piece by piece by piece, and therefore he can disassemble it and assemble it in a seminar. And that's one way to share Krishna consciousness, and it's good. Thanks for the wake-up call to get off the couch and not get off the couch. I was on a walk the other day with a close friend, and he asked me what I had in I have a little backpack. What's in your backpack? I said, well, I have a windbreaker in there in case wind comes up. And I have my beanie in there in case it gets too cold. And I have my Hare Krishna business cards and books. And I'm walking at White Rock Lake where you might run into like 25, 30 people. But just in case someone says, what's that in your hand? What are you doing? And armed with Shastra, armed with books, be ready to share. Be ready to share Krishna consciousness. Very good takeaway, Bhagavad. And we're only 1 minute past our scheduled departure time. Ladies and gentlemen,
Yeah. Thank you very much, Maharaj.
Anything else from Lanteshwar, our host, who's kindly hosting us every week? Oh, I didn't call on Sri Rupa Manjari today. Oh, Sri Rupa, you would have been on the list if there would have been time somehow or another. Everybody, see, the thing is, names I can't just go line by line because then things keep going in a circle. Then you figure out where everybody is at. Nice to see you again, Sri Rupa Manjari. Nice to see you every Tuesday.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, I really liked how you were speaking about the questioning, how you were saying if you put the word if instead of saying what can I do for you, it really changes the response. It's your educator cap coming out. I love it.
Yeah, actually, I learned that from His Grace Brahmatirtha Prabhu, who is expert at conflict mediation. He actually wants me to be a conflict mediator with him, though my nerves can't quite take it these days. And yeah, it's really such an important thing. You know, we can become wordsmiths, you know, like blacksmiths, you know, the wordsmith. Really learn how to utilize the words so that they actually, you know, just like impeccable speech, you know, like no Prajalpa delivers, saying what's actually that what you saying it in such a way that people can understand where you're at. and understand what is, so that we understand what is needed. It's very important to be able to learn that talent, or those talents, or those qualities, or whatever you want to call them. They're opulences, in my opinion. They're opulences.
It's a very hard process to learn, to understand exactly how to ask a question so that you make the person feel welcomed and confident enough so that they can answer.
Yeah. Well, my experience, just, I know we've gone a couple of minutes over, my experience in, I don't want to use the word counseling or just like sharing with people, but it's asking open-ended questions, not true, false, or yes, no, or, you know what I mean? Asking open-ended questions. You know, like someone say, how are you? Well, I'm okay. What does that feel like? What's your okay like? I'm joking. I'm laughing because I have a close friend that I do that to all the time. So, but there's, you know, to ask the open-ended question, so that it can't just be brushed off. It has to enter into the heart. So part of the heart comes out, and once part of the heart comes out, then they can sense whether or not the confidentiality is there. And once they, if the person can actually, what would you say, sense or have a thought or realization. I don't like the word realization. I like the word. I don't dislike. I call it realizations, meaning it's permanent. I'm changing my mind on my definition for realization too. So I'm rambling now, but yeah, becoming wordsmiths to ask questions so people's hearts open up, and once the heart opens up, then being there. Just like, I'll just end it with Bhaktisiddhanta, his Divine Grace, Bhaktisiddhanta said, platform preaching is one thing. When you're on the platform and preaching to a group is one thing. But what that's like, I think I've explained that to this group before. It's like you're at a river panning for gold, and then through the pan you find one or two nuggets, but you take care of those nuggets. And I think that was Bhagavad. You know, we have to take care of those people that we are involved with. We have to really, really take care of them, show them care, show them affection, show them love, take an interest in their lives. And I was talking to a very close friend in the lecture there. It was yesterday, the day before, and we were describing cradle to grave. In other words, we're in it for life with everybody, and whatever stage we're in, we're meant to be servants of the servants of the servants. And the more we remove from the original servant of Krishna, the more attention Krishna gives us. In other words, no matter whom we serve, Krishna sees that. And whomever we explain the Gita to, Krishna says, there's no one more dear to me than that person who shares this information. So that goes along with Bhagavad. So yeah, wordsmith, Sri Rupa Manjari, very good. And good takeaway. And I'll give credit to Brahmatirtha tomorrow when I talk to him. Okay, now we're 7 minutes over the line. We don't want to make Ananteshwar nervous. We want to make sure he stays stable.
I'm happy to be extended as.
Yeah. And good job, Balaram Shakti made it for a Tuesday night. Difficult for teachers and also Rajabhumi teachers.